ጉዳዮች ላይ በርካታ ሀሳቦች እንዲሁም ጥናታዊ ጽሁፎች ይቀርባሉ። የውይይት መድረኮችም የሚከናወኑ ይሆናሉ። ከነዚህና ሌሎችም ተያያዥ ጉዳዮች ላይ የሚሳተፉ ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር ዶክተር አብይ አህመድን ጨምሮ የአፍሪካ መሪዎች ወደዚህ ወደ ባህር ዳር ገብተዋል። እንግዲህ ከዛሬ ጀምሮ የሚከናወኑ ውይይቶችንና አጠቃላይ ሂደቶችን የአማራ ሚዲያ ኮርፖሬሽን በቀጥታ ለአድማጭ ተመልካች የሚያደርስ ይሆናል። እንድትከታተሉን እንጋብዛለን። እንግዲህ በየመሃሉ ጣልቃ እየገባን የተለያዩ ሀሳቦችን ጠቅለል ያሉ መረጃዎችንም ወደ እናንተ እያደረስን ቆይታ የምናደርግ ይሆናል። አብራችሁን ቆዩ።
Your Excellencies, today's forum marks 10 years of the gathering. 10 years of frank, open and interactive discussions exploring Africa's governance, peace and security landscape. And for the 10th time, we gathered to exchange under the theme, this year's theme, managing security risks, building resilience for the Africa we want. 10 years of Tana has been 10 years of continued engagement between the political, institutional and intellectual capacities of Africa, aimed at providing, curating, identifying possible solutions to the myriads of challenges facing our continent. As we celebrate 10 years of cooperation, we also celebrate 20 years of the standing of Africa's political platform, the African Union. The Tana Forum continues to closely align itself with the African Union by reflecting its discussions and engagements around the AU theme of the year. The Tana continues to be the foremost platform of which African voices from the African Union are amplified, be it in the form of African common positions, declarations, and campaigns. Your Excellencies, it is with great honor that I welcome you to Bahar Dar to the 10th edition of the Tana Forum after a challenging 2 years. The outbreak of the pandemic robbed us of the privilege of this gathering. The virtual 9th Tana Forum, held in Addis Ababa in 2020, was an attempt at adaptability, an attempt at employing the virtual world in what we called the new normal. While successful, I have to admit that the new normal was not a comfortable normal. The informality, the camaraderie, the informal exchanges that occur on the sidelines and on the corridors of the Tana could not be substituted. Today, as we gather here along the shores of Lake Tana, we are reminded of the importance of this gathering. We meet at a time when our continent is facing complex and compounding crises. The impact of the pandemic has been identified not to just have affected this gathering, but our economies, our societies, and our institutions' capacities in delivering much-needed services. The climate crisis is another looming implication, claiming lives and livelihoods, fueling and exacerbating conflict, straining society's capacity to survive and thrive. The 10th Tana Forum, happening before Africa hosts the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh later this year, is another opportunity to amplify African positions around the climate agenda. While we discuss the impact of COVID and climate, Your Excellencies, the African continent is still plagued with vicious and cyclical conflict. Data has told us that 10 of the most prolonged and catastrophic conflict situations globally are on the African continent. Even more worrisome, we are told, is that 4 of the most deadly jihadist and radical groups in the world are active on our continent. While we recognize these factors as we kickstart these discussions at Tana this year, recognizing the interlinked and compounded nature of these threats is a sure way to start a discussion on building a resilient Africa. Experts tell us that building resilience is not about bouncing back, but rather building resilience is about adaptability. It's about learning how to change so as not to be changed by external threats. It is in this spirit that the 10th Tana recognizes that to discuss resilience building in Africa, we need to have a participatory and inclusive dialogue, a spirit truly reflected in the representation of this year's Tana Forum. Your Excellencies, the spirit of Tana is truly reflected in the scope and level of participation today. With almost 250 participants, almost more than half of the participants self-sponsored, a clear indication of the commitment to engage and build the discussions at Tana. In light of this, I have to remind us all of the spirit of Tana. The Tana spirit is a spirit of open, frank, candid, and participatory discussion. This Tana spirit is a spirit of brotherliness and good neighborliness. As such, we speak truth to power, but we do so in a manner that permits for dialogue and open exchange. But most importantly, the spirit of Tana is a spirit of community. We observe this through non-affiliation and non-representation. Tana is held under the Chatham House rules in a spirit of equal representation of all present. With those few remarks, I call on you to participate and exchange and network. And we have translation to assist in this. We have Arabic, English, French, and Amharic simultaneous translations. Distinguished delegates, I thank you for your kind attention. And on that note, allow me to assume my role as the moderator for the 10th Tana Forum opening session. Your Excellencies, I call on you to join me on stage so that we may discuss and engage and have this open morning discussion open. I thank you. So I call on His Excellency, my apologies, our host, the President of the Amhara Regional State, Dr. Yilkal Kefele, to come and give us his remarks and join us on stage.
Thank you very much. His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, President of Sudan, Her Excellency Ms. Jessica Rose Epil Alupa, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Mr. Hamza Abdi Bare, Prime Minister of the Republic of Somalia, His Excellency Mr. Dammaka Makonnan, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency Mr. John Dramani Mahama, former President of the Republic of Ghana and Chairperson of the Tana Forum Board, His Excellency Mr. Hailemariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Honorable delegates, distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Amhara Regional State, I feel honored and privileged to welcome you all, Excellencies, honorable and distinguished guests, to this beautiful city of Bahar Dar. The Tana Forum is now conducted after 3 years of interruption due to COVID-19. I believe the Tana Forum would continue to contribute in sharing experiences, finding ways for building sustainable peace and security in Africa. Yes, Tana is the spirit of Africa. Yes, Tana can bring various ideas, experiences for the sustainable peace and management of security in Africa. I thank and appreciate His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, for his attention and guidance to happen the forum in this colorful way. I would also like to thank and appreciate the board chairman of Tana Forum Board for effective coordination of the forum. I would also like to thank institutions and individuals for their financial, technical contribution. I wish the forum success finally, I would like just to assure you that the city is a beautiful city, and we invite you all to visit the different cultural and historical heritages in Bahar Dar and around Bahar Dar. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Your Excellency. Please, can we give him one more hand? Thank you. Appreciate it. And there was no better way to have made the perfect introduction than to also welcome and thank our host, our chief host, the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency Abiy Ahmed, to open the ceremony this morning. Your Excellency.
የተከበራችሁ የአስረኛው የጣና ፎረም ተሳታፊዎች፣ እንግዶች ወደ ውቧ ባህር ዳር እንኳን በሰላም መጣችሁ። ይህ ፎረም የንግግር የምክክርና የእውቀት ሽግግር እንዲሆንላችሁ እመኛለሁ። ጤና ይስጥልኝ። Your Excellency Abdul Fattah Abdurrahman Al-Burhan, President of the Sovereign Council of the Republic of Sudan, Your Excellency Jessica Rose Apple Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency Hamza Barry Abdi, Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Mr. Chair, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all attending the 10th round of the Tana High-Level Forum. It is pleasant to see diverse participants from different continents, disciplines, and culture, all united in the diverse to build a resilient Africa and discuss ways to manage issues threatening our continent's security. Excellencies, building a resilient Africa means not only withstanding unexpected shocks, but also proactively planning and developing innovative, homegrown, Africa-led solutions. Today, assuming that other parts will be discussed by other colleagues, I want to touch upon 3 security issues that requires our attention: water, energy, and data governance. Africa is vulnerable to climate change despite contributing least to the problem. Most of our populations reside in rural areas, and most survive on subsistence farming, relying heavily on rain-fed agriculture. Today, 1 in 3 African experiences water scarcity. Ethiopia continues to invest in renewable energy, including hydroelectric power plants and solar and wind farms, making us and our neighboring countries energy resilient. This is in addition to our strong stand to not only relieve our acute electricity shortage, but also export electricity by efficiently utilizing our resources. In Ethiopia, rain-fed agriculture yields 30% of our expected production. To mitigate this, we have substantially expanded commercial irrigation and paved its way to wheat self-sufficiency by planting heat-tolerant, water-efficient wheat varieties that adopt to arid and semi-arid agroecologies. Additionally, we have launched Green Legacy Initiative, which focused on boosting forestation and afforestation in 2019. Our target was to plant 20 billion eco-friendly seedlings. Today, we have not only met our targets, but surpassed them, planting 25 billion trees, which with a survival rate of over 70%, and creating nurseries. We have created over 125 nurseries across the country with the potential of producing 8 billion seedlings. The initiative has also created close to 1 million jobs. Ethiopia will continue to forge a sustainable system of green living, green behavior, and green economy. As communities grapple with climate change and its implications, governments are experiencing the impact of the energy crisis. Increases in the price of oil and gas and disruptions in energy supply chains, which strongly highlights the urgent need of innovative solutions. The Ethiopian government is making significant policy interventions along that line. Recently, we have adopting policies to create emission-free transport system, including supporting policy intervention in the adoption of electric vehicles. Excellencies, we cannot discuss security without technology. New technologies shape international relations and may cause vulnerabilities in the areas of digital and technological sovereignty. While technology's economic, social, and labor implications are apparent, we need to start producing strategies on the geopolitical dimension of technology, ensuring we influence standards in a way that corresponds with African values and enable us to participate in innovative emerging technologies. Thus, a Pan-African data governance strategy must be considered to help the continent realize an African single market for data, aligned with the African Union Agenda 2063. Excellencies, I want to call upon governments, development institutions, and non-state actors to collaborate and strengthen our analytical capacities and adopt artificial intelligence and big data for more competitive Pan-African digital economy. I especially want to applaud the youth who have shared their perspective on security through their essays and reiterate that African youth should be integrated into decision-making process to ensure we create the resilient, diverse, equitable, and inclusive Africa we want. I wish you all a pleasant stay in this beautiful, magnificent city of Bahir Dar and a successful deliberation. God bless you all.
I thank you, Your Excellency, our host, for those remarks calling for green living, green futures, and investing in data governance, calling for inclusivity, enhancing inclusivity, and investment towards the delivery of the African Agenda 2063. So next, I would like to call on the head of state of the Republic of Sudan, His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, to come and share his remarks with us. Your Excellency.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السادة أصحاب الفخامة والسمو، يسرني أن أخاطبكم وأنا سعيد جدا أن أكون بينكم. اسمحوا لي في البداية أن أتقدم بجزيل الشكر للسيد أبي أحمد رئيس وزراء جمهورية أثيوبيا والسيد حاكم الإقليم على الدعوة وعلى حفاوة الاستقبال والترحاب. كما أرجو أن تسمحوا لي كذلك أن أعرب عن عظيم تقديري للقائمين على أمر هذا الملتقى. هذا الملتقى الأفريقي الذي يناقش القضايا الأفريقية السياسية والأمنية بعمق حتى نستطيع أن نصل إلى جذورها. أيضا هذا الملتقى يؤطر ويضع حلولا أفريقية واقعية وقابلة للتطبيق، وهذا المنهج يحقق شعار الحلول الأفريقية للمشكلات الأفريقية. إن جمهورية السودان كدولة فاعلة في محيطها الإقليمي ظلت حريصة على المشاركة البناءة في فعاليات ملتقى تانا منذ إنشائه، ونتطلع إلى وصول هذه الدورة لمخرجات إيجابية تسهم في تحقيق الأمن والاستقرار في المنطقة وتعزز نمو ورفاهية الشعوب. تنعقد هذه الدورة العاشرة لمنتدى تانا رفيع المستوى حول الأمن في أفريقيا في ظل تداعيات جسيمة خلفها انتشار وباء كورونا والتحديات المتعلقة بالسلم والأمن ومخاطر تهدد الأمن الغذائي مع انتشار الكوارث الطبيعية الناتجة من التغييرات المناخية. كل ذلك أدى إلى تهديد الاستقرار في مناطق كثيرة من قارتنا. لذلك نشيد بهذا التجمع الأفريقي الفكري الذي تتكامل فيه الرؤى وتتوحد فيه المفاهيم ويدور فيه نقاش مثمر بهدف التوصل إلى أفضل السبل لمخاطبة جذور مشكلاتنا الأفريقية المتنوعة بقصد رفع مقدرات الاستجابة للتغلب على الآثار السالبة لهذه التداعيات والآثار. سيد الرئيس، حضور الكرام، ظل السودان يقوم بدور محوري في منطقة القرن الأفريقي لما له من موقع جيو استراتيجي ولإيمانه بمبدأ التعاون وقناعته بمنهج التكامل بين دول الإقليم وكذلك بينها وبين الأقاليم الأفريقية الأخرى. ويعمل السودان بوصفه الرئيس الحالي لإيجاد على تمتين أواصر حسن الجوار وحسن العلاقة بين دول الإقليم. حضور الكريم، واجهت مسيرة الانتقال في السودان تحديات وتعقيدات كثيرة، إلا أن المؤشرات الآن أضحت أكثر إيجابية وتدعو للتفاؤل وتبشر بقرب النجاح في الوصول إلى وفاق بمشاركة معظم القوى السياسية والمجتمعية وأطراف السلام. كل ذلك يقوي من الضمانات التي تكفل استقرار الفترة الانتقالية وتمكن الجميع من تشكيل حكومة مدنية تدير البلاد وتهيئ المناخ وتتخذ التدابير اللازمة لإقامة انتخابات حرة وشفافة في نهاية الفترة الانتقالية. من جانبنا نؤكد على مواقفنا الثابتة التي أعلناها والتي تقضي بانسحاب وخروج المؤسسة العسكرية من السجال السياسي لتتفرغ لأداء مهامها الأساسية في حماية وصيانة أمن وسيادة البلاد. في الختام، نأمل من هذا المنتدى الذي يضم العديد من الفاعلين في مختلف المجالات في مختلف المجالات الحيوية السياسية والأمنية، والذين عملوا على دراسة مسببات عدم الاستقرار في أفريقيا، أن يخرج بخلاصات تؤدي إلى نتائج عملية تفضي إلى تحقيق السلام المستدام والأمن الغذائي ومخاطبة سبل تحقيق الأمن والاستقرار، بما يسهم في تحقيق شعار إيجاد الحلول الأفريقية للمشاكل الأفريقية. أكرر شكري للسيد رئيس وزراء جمهورية اثيوبيا على هذه الدعوة، وأيضا شكرنا لإخوتنا جيراننا هذا الاستقبال الدافئ الذي من فك يؤسس ويؤطر لعلاقات مستدامة يحتاجها شعبينا. شكرا جزيلا.
I thank you, Your Excellency, calling yet again for responding to the root causes of conflicts and issues in our continent, calling for cooperation and integration, further reinforcing the message that we received from His Excellency, the Prime Minister. And with that, I would like to move down the list. We have a list of incredible dignitaries who are here today who would share their reflections with us, and therefore I call on Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo.
Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellency General Abdel Fattah, President of Transitional Sovereign Council of the Republic of Sudan, Your Excellency Mr. Hamza Abdi, Prime Minister of the Republic of Somalia, Your Excellency Mr. John Mahama, former President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency Mr. Hailemariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors here present, but most importantly our host who welcomed us yesterday, all protocol observed, eminent African personalities, representatives from the African Union and the regional economic communities, think tanks, the academia and the private sector, the Institute for the Peace and Security Studies who have organized this forum, distinguished participants. Your Excellency, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, I am here to represent your brother, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. And therefore, allow me at the outset to bring you greetings from His Excellency, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the government of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia for the excellent hospitality they have extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in this wonderful city of Bahir Dar, which also doubles as my area of origin. In Uganda, we have the people called the Ateker. The Ateker people are very proud to be associated with Abyssinia. And when there is a small quarrel in the village, in Uganda, there are some elders threaten that if the quarrel persists, they can come back to Abyssinia. And there are some young girls in Uganda, sometimes when they want to express their concern about how their hair looks, they say that who brought us from Ethiopia, and our hair would now be long like those Ethiopian girls. So, Excellencies, I am very happy to be home. I am part of you. And I am just wondering whether the Ethiopians there in the villages, in the small towns, watching us on TV, are now aware that I am their sister. And if they are not, I would like them to know. So the message I'm going to give is a message from His Excellency the President himself, and therefore I am compelled to read it as he prepared it. For instance, Uganda greatly appreciates the invitation to this high-level forum on security in Africa, where we together get the opportunity to engage and explore African-led solutions. As we respond to the August 2009 African Union Tripoli Declaration on the elimination of conflicts and promotion of sustainable peace on our continent, I am confident that we shall share views and experiences in a time-efficient, result-oriented, and open manner that will adequately address this year's theme, which is managing security threats, building resilience for the Africa we want. And I would like to reiterate that Africa is still faced with 5 forms of insecurity, including military security, economic security, environmental security, political security, and cultural security. And we must devise mechanisms and solutions to all those forms of insecurity. To begin with, Excellencies, unconstitutional changes of government is a matter of concern to Uganda. Our sister countries, including Chad, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Sudan, and Burkina Faso are dealing with the aftermath of coup d'etats that occurred in the last 18 months. Uganda commends the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States for all the efforts they are undertaking to ensure that these states do commit to civilian transformation by holding elections at an appropriate time. 18 African countries were slated to hold elections this year. This has undoubtedly been a measure of the continent's resilience in as far as building democratic governance is concerned. We congratulate all those who have successfully and peacefully held their elections and wish the same to those countries yet to hold their elections. Uganda as well commends the Southern African Development Community for their diplomatic efforts in Eswatini, where they are struggling to establish a national dialogue process after months of tension in that beautiful kingdom. On global security affecting the continent, radical extremism has been on the rise in the world. According to the African Center for the Study and Research on Terrorism for Africa, the activities of terrorists and violent extremists have been on an upward trajectory and are reported in the Sahel, Lake Chad Basin, Great Lakes region, and in the Horn of Africa, etc., by armed actors such as Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, the Lord's Resistance Army of Joseph Kony, and the Allied Democratic Forces, which is affiliated to the Daesh, among others. In the Great Lakes region, Negative elements such as the ADF recruits not only in Uganda but also other countries in the region, and this poses a great threat to our national, regional, and international peace and security. Worldwide, radical extremists are said to exploit grievances linked to structural factors such as unemployment, underdevelopment, poverty, lack of access to education, real or perceived political or social exclusion, ethnic, national, and religious discrimination, and marginalization. This leads to radicalization of young people, and they are being easily recruited into criminal groups while promising them an alternative and better livelihood. It is in addressing these challenges collectively that we can work towards eliminating the scourge. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Russia-Ukraine war is raising the cost of staple food at a time of an extreme food insecurity in many parts of the world, including Africa. Some countries on our continent are experiencing food insecurity while others are experiencing famine-like conditions. We should work towards reversing this trend. On COVID-19, in the context of peace and security on the African continent, it was predicted that the impact of COVID-19 would be particularly catastrophic in the African continent. However, over the last 24 months since the first COVID-19 case was diagnosed in the African continent on 14th February 2020 in Egypt, the pattern has been one of resilience. I congratulate the African countries in the fight against COVID-19. Now we have to deal with the manufacture of our own vaccines and scientifically prepare for any unforeseen epidemics. On climate change preparedness, adaptation, and financing, I note that the global efforts to address climate change continue to fall short of what is required to keep the Paris Agreement temperature goal well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Last year's global negotiations resulted in some gains. For example, financing for adaptation and curbing deforestation. Commitments to curb greenhouse gas emissions remain insufficient, as do financing commitments to help developing countries to adapt to climate change. In less than a month from today, Egypt will be hosting COP27, billed as the Africa COP. Africa should seek for opportunities to secure meaningful commitments to its agenda. Africa has long been clear about its climate priorities. The region needs financing to support adaptation, as well as technology transfer and other forms of support. Africa is acutely aware of the need for climate action, but such action should also support the region's development and industrialization ambitions. That will require skills and capacity development, green jobs and investment. At COP27, Africa needs to push for concrete action and more ambitious commitments around climate change financing. Excellencies, on oil and gas, there is need to support African countries in commercializing their oil and gas reserves, because this will provide funds for some of the countries like Uganda, which have these resources, to develop and invest in a more renewable energy sources and the achievement of energy access for all their people. In addition, liquid petroleum gas from such projects will be key in providing a cleaner cooking energy source that will save forest cover, which is being lost rapidly to charcoal burning and firewood. On functional relevance of existing peace and security institutions and normative frameworks at regional and continental level. The Peace and Security Council, the most visible component of the African peace and security architecture to date, supported by the Commission, a panel of the wise, a continental early warning system, an African standby force, and a special fund, is yet to deliver the expected dividends. Among other things, the objectives of the Peace and Security Council are to promote peace and security and stability in Africa in order to guarantee the protection and preservation of life and property. African countries have a rich, varied cultural heritage with huge potential to facilitate and promote social cohesion and sustainable development in the region. Lakes, rivers, game parks, which cut across African countries, should be a source of unity as opposed to being a source of conflict. The challenge is to build on this varied cultural heritage and help fledgling economies benefit from sustainable development. Africa's cultural environment requires the strengthening of institutional and individual capacities. In this regard, Africa's partnership with UNESCO can be an opportunity to help strengthen policies and professional capacities necessary to ensure the effective protection, safeguarding, and promotion of heritage. Secondly, respect for cultural identities and the development of viable cultural and creative industry as drivers for growth and peace. Third, efforts to combat prejudice, racism, and discrimination on the account of tribe, gender, creed, age, color, etc., and to foster reconciliation and new ways of living together, undertaken in the context of International Decade of People of African Descent. Excellencies, as I come to a close of my remarks, I wish to share with you some of the concrete actions Uganda has taken in managing security threats and building the resilience for Africa we want. First, regarding the coup d'etats, Uganda remains categorical that coup makers have no right to interfere with Africa's destiny. We are supportive of the African Union minimum position of outlawing these coups. As President Museveni has clearly put it, Uganda believes in election of one person, one vote, and by secret ballot at regular intervals. We strongly believe that this minimum set by AU is a good one. Secondly, we have enhanced compliance with continental, regional, and national laws to address threats to constitutional order. Uganda believes that peace efforts must be like the Christian Trinity, involving the three levels of internal players, regional players, and international players. In a bid to address global insecurity, our view has been to engage the youth and keep them away from being lured into violent extremism and fundamentalism. In this endeavor, the government of Uganda has adopted both hard and soft approaches to to deal with terrorism and radicalism. In an enduring effort to deal with the root causes of this challenge, in addressing the nexus between development and de-radicalization, Uganda has designed and is currently implementing the parish development model as an all-inclusive development and service delivery approach aimed at organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation and employment generation at the parish level as the lowest economic planning unit. Fourthly, Uganda government has established dedicated programs to address the concerns of the youth, such as the Youth Livelihood Program, Youth Venture Capital Fund, Green Jobs and Fair Markets Program, Youth Innovation Fund, Uganda Skills Development Project, Youth Business Innovation and Entrepreneurship Facility, and Operation Wealth Creation, among others. These programs are designed to support young people to find employment by extending grants and other support to small groups of young entrepreneurs, to help them start small businesses and create employment for themselves and for other young job seekers. Uganda has continued to emphasize and encourage the youth to find jobs in commercial, agriculture, industry and manufacturing, services sector, and ICT. Lastly, in order to enhance the building of democratic institutions on our continent, Uganda urges all AU members to firmly embrace the African peer review mechanism, a continental good governance monitoring and promotion tool. It is striving for universal accession by 2023. Currently, 41 out of Africa's 55 states, including Uganda, are voluntary members. I would like to persuade other members who have not voluntarily subscribed to subscribe. We have promoted politics of ideology rather than politics of identity. Politics of focused on common needs of our people. We have embraced the strategy of integration for bigger markets and joint security forces in dealing with the security challenges together. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your kind attention. This is a message from His Excellency the President of Uganda. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you for walking us through the threats that this continent is facing and the steps that Uganda is taking towards attaining the Agenda 2063. As you can tell, the messages this morning are very much aligned, calling for integration, cooperation, and working towards green futures and enhancing engagement of our youth. And lastly, I would like to call on His Excellency the Prime Minister of Somalia, His Excellency Hamza Abdi Barre.
Your Excellency, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, our host, my brother, the President of Amhara region, President of Jamhuriyat Sudan al-Shaqiqa, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Vice President of the Uganda, Excellencies, current and former heads of states and governments present here today, esteemed scholars and representatives, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In Somalia, as many African countries, we discuss solutions and negotiate settlements for our problems under a tree. Sitting here today with my brothers and sisters from different parts of the continent under the Tana Forum symbol of baobab tree assures me of the endurance of that spirit. As we mark 10th anniversary of the esteemed forum, I would like to congratulate and commend its organizers for staying true to that spirit and maintaining a significant platform that engenders frank discussions to explore African solutions to Africa's most pressing problems. Your Excellencies, we have saying in Somalia that says, "Regobishis wa nabat," which translates to "peace is the bed on which man can rest." Our continent is contending with unprecedented threats that impacts the survival of our people, our landscapes, and the very existence of our nations. We can spend hours listening to these threats and analyzing their causes and effects. However, I believe in order to build resilience in our respective nations and in our continent as a whole, we must contend with two significant factors that could have the biggest impact in addressing any threat: connectivity and people. Ladies and gentlemen, in the one hand, an ever more connected world is bringing unconventional global challenges closer to our doorsteps, exposing our weaknesses and amplifying our fragilities. On the other hand, the lack of connectivity in our continent and in many cases within our nations as well is hindering our ability to pool our resources and individual advantages to respond to challenges adequately and collectively. The absence of adequate infrastructure and the inability to access basic services and economic opportunities only leads to exclusion, fuel conflicts, and threatens peace and stability. And as the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated, infrastructure connectivity can play a significant role in preventing emergencies from becoming endemic. Therefore, we must underscore the importance of the connectivity in realizing our aspiration for sustainable peace and security. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, here in our rich continent, the most significant asset we own is our people. Yet, climate change is posing existential risks to every living being, driving food insecurity, igniting dangerous conflicts, and causing mass displacement. Each day, our communities struggle to adapt to this extraordinary challenge. They are yet again faced with other threats such as terrorism, radicalization, and violent extremism. In our experience, the only way to withstand such a challenge is to involve the people who are, at the end of the day, the ones with the real power to bring about lasting and a fundamental change. In Somalia, for example, the failure of 4 consecutive rainy seasons has caused one of the most severe droughts in living memory. Its impact on the people, however, has been exacerbated by the deliberate inhuman acts of the terrorist group Al-Shabaab by isolating communities, cutting off main main supply routes, burning wells, and destroying crops, Al-Shabaab have directly and deliberately contributed to the worsening of the dire humanitarian situation in my country. And when people had enough, they rose up to expel this cancer from their midst. Dulmidid, the rejection of any form of oppression, the name given to the current and ongoing offensive against Al-Shabaab and the similar terrorist groups in Somalia. It takes root in our new comprehensive strategy to liberate people, their territories, properties, and minds from grips of violent extremism. The core component of this strategy is our people. My brothers and sisters, our administration envisions a Somalia at peace, a Somalia at peace with itself and at peace with the rest of the world. And as we nurture cohesion within our societies through reconciliation and the political settlements, we also prioritize peace and security. Hence, as soon as we took office, we denounced the strategy of containment and announced a comprehensive offensive against terrorism in Somalia, taking the fight to them ideologically, financially, and operationally. To cleanse the minds of misguided people, we mobilized religious scholars to challenge the malicious misinterpretation of Islam. To curb their fundraising capacity, we directly targeted their extortion networks and infrastructure and implemented strict mitigation measures. And as we launch our operational campaign, local communities organized themselves at a grassroots level, took up arms, and with the help of our SNA force, liberated their towns and villages. We may have lost many heroes in this process, but in the past 3 months only, terrorists have been eradicated from an area covering 150 kilometers in central and southern Somalia, a significant victory worth celebrating. Dulmidid is at its earliest stages. However, its success so far can serve as a proof of concept for a model of promoting peace and security through the effective engagement, empowerment, and mobilizing of local communities. It would be great to see this model replicated everywhere. Innocent people are suffering at the hands of the ruthless gangs attributing misguided nations to religious ideologies in order to oppress and enslave communities. Our people are the key to attaining this peace, stability, and prosperity we aspire to. Our role as their leaders is to provide them with support and instill a positive shift in their mindsets that will encourage them to take constructive actions. In conclusion, please accept my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to share my thoughts in this unique platform. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Your Excellency. A lot of reference has been made to the challenges and the interlinkages, and we will have a moment to hear from the Tana Board Chair, His Excellency John Mahama, this afternoon on the state of peace and security in Africa. Your Excellencies, in my culture, it is impolite to speak after the elders have spoken, but it is also impolite to not thank your host, as a means of rounding the discussion. So I want to take one last opportunity to thank Your Excellency the Prime Minister for your presence today, the support that we have received from your government and the people of Ethiopia, and the presence that we've had from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs right from the start. This would not have been possible without your support and engagement. So we thank you. So with those few remarks, I think we were going to have a bit of a longer break, and we will be back by 12:45 to start the next session. But kindly do have your seats, and let's let our dignitaries be escorted out.
ቀጥታ ከዚህ ባህር ዳር ብሉ ናይል ሪዞርት በተለይም በአፍሪካ ሀገራትና የቀድሞ መሪዎችና የአሁን የአፍሪካ መሪዎች በ10ኛው የጣና ፎረም ላይ ምክክር እያደረጉ ይገኛሉ። 10ኛው የጣና ፎረም እንግዲህ በአፍሪካ ሰላምና ደህንነት እንዲሁም በሌሎች ተያያዥ ጉዳዮች ዙሪያ የሚመክር ጉባኤ ነው። በዚህ መድረክ ላይ እንግዲህ እስካሁንም የሀገራት መሪዎች ንግግር አድርገዋል። በመልእክታቸውም በተለይም በአፍሪካ ችግሮች አፍሪካዊ መፍትሄ እንዲሁም ሌሎችም ተያያዥ ጉዳዮች ተነስተዋል። በአፍሪካ የሚስተዋሉ የሰላምና የደህንነት ችግሮች መፍትሄ የሚያገኙት በአፍሪካውያን በራሳቸው ምክክርና የእርስ በርስ መተባበር ሊሆን ይገባል የሚሉ መልእክቶችን አራምደዋል። ከዚህም በተጨማሪም የራሽያና ዩክሬን ጦርነት እንዲሁም የአየር ንብረት ለውጥ ያስከተለውን ጫና እንዲሁም በምግብ ራስን መቻል ላይ የሚደረጉ ጥረቶችን መደገፍና ማበረታታት ይገባል። የስራ ዕድል ፈጠራና ሌሎችም የአፍሪካ የኢኮኖሚ የማህበራዊና ፖለቲካዊ ጉዳዮችን በጋራ መፍታት የሚቻልባቸው ጉዳዮች ላይ አፍሪካውያን ትብብርና በጋራ መስራትን የሚያዳብሩባቸው ጉዳዮች ላይ ሀሳቦች ተነስተዋል። እንግዲህ እስካሁን ባሉ መልእክቶችም በተለይም አፍሪካውያን በራሳችን አብረን ተባብረን በአንድነት በኢኮኖሚ በልማትና በፖለቲካዊ ተግባራት ላይ በአንድነት መስራት ይጠበቅብናል የሚሉ መልእክቶች ከመሪዎች ተላልፈዋል። እንግዲህ ሌሎችም የአፍሪካ ሰላምና ደህንነትና ተያያዥ ጉዳይ የሆኑ ሀሳቦች በቀጣይም በውይይቱ የሚነሱ ይሆናል። የአማራ ሚዲያ ኮርፖሬሽንም በተለያዩ ቋንቋዎችና በተለያዩ ሚዲየሞች መልእክቶችን ወደ እናንተ እያሻገረ ወደ እናንተ እያደረሰ ቆይታ የሚያደርግ ይሆናል። አሁን የአረበኛ ባልደረባችን መክያ መልእክቷን ሀሳቦችን ጠቅለል አድርጋ ወደ እናንተ የምታደርስ ይሆናል። አብራችሁን ቆዩ።
الله وبركاته مشاهدينا الأعزاء، أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. نقدم لكم بثا مباشرا من تلفزيون هيئة أمهر الإعلامية لننقل لكم ابتداء منتدى طانا رفيع المستوى للأمن في أفريقيا للمرة العاشرة من بهردار. تأسس منتدى طانا عام 2009، ومنذ تأسيسه ظل المنتدى يمثل منبرا تشاوريا سنويا يجمع القادة الأفارقة وأصحاب المصلحة لاستكشاف الحلول الأمنية لمشاكل القارة السمراء. من المتوقع أن يركز المؤتمر على دور المواطنين في ضمان السلام والأمن في أفريقيا، وأن المنتدى يتزامن مع تحديات متزايدة مثل تغير المناخ والصراع الحالي بين روسيا وأوكرانيا، إلى تفاقم التعقيدات مع زيادة أسعار توصيل الأسمدة والوقود. مشاهدينا الأعزاء، سأكون معكم في هذه التغطية المباشرة باللغة العربية، أنا مكية علي، فكونوا معنا وتابعونا.
Amhara Media Corporation English Service. Now you are watching live pictures from Tana Forum at the regional capital Bahardar, and The Tana High Level Forum is all about peace and security. And this year's forum is about managing security threats and building resilience to create the Africa we want. In this year's event, just high profile current and former heads of states and government, the diplomatic community and journalists from different countries and organizations attended the event. Among the notable attendees, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, Demeqa Mekonnen, and other high-profile government officials attended the event. Among other dignitaries, the President of the Republic of Sudan, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and other African countries' current leaders attended the event. And at the same time, other top diplomats also attended the event. Among them, the United States Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Mike Hammer, also attended the forum. In this year's forum, peace and security, as usual, is the main topic of the forum. Africa's response to global problems like COVID-19 and at the same time the Ukraine-Russian crisis and its economic impact. And at the same time, how can Africa deal with African problems? So this is an important forum for leaders, heads of state and government, and partners to come together and to bring about insights, perspectives, how to better handle the security threats, the security problems in a way that can solve African problems. And we will bring you the latest information from the forum. And thank you for watching.